And welcome back, footy fans, to another episode of Donnie's Disposal. I'm your host, Coach Donnie Hess here, back with another AFLW round review. Ladies and gentlemen, we're here. The footy madness has begun. The grand final week has started, and we have to review the first round of condensed fixtures. So, not just nine, but 11 games of footy that we must discuss. So, let's bring in my co host joining me from lovely South Australia, one of my favorite people to talk to, the captain of the Woodville West Torrens women's team, an absolute legend, Annie Falkenberg. Annie, it's great to see you again.
Hello, Coach. Yes, good to be back. Same time, I think last year we touched base. So good to see you again this year. And yeah, thank you for having me on the podcast.
Well, it's always great to have a legend like you on the podcast, captain of the Woodville West Torrens Eagles. Unfortunately, not the greatest season in the world this year, but you guys were one of my favorite teams to watch because you always had a crack. It was absolutely fantastic. And we go into round four. Consistency must be really good considering I had you on a year ago, but this year just a littlest bit different with 11 games with condensed fixtures. Holy shnikes. I had footy pretty much every single day this week. I'm just absolutely in love. Absolutely love it. So jump to it. Round four, your thoughts all together before we go through each game one by one.
Yeah, we were just chatting before about how suddenly there's all this footy. You think, oh, it's all wrapping up with, the state leagues, the AFL men's, and then bam, the AFLW swoops in and gives you that footy fix, which is a great marketing strategy from them if you look at it from that perspective. And great to have some footy on the screens every night. So that's also, helping me with the cold nights here down in South Australia still. But yeah, a chocker's schedule and hard to kind of keep track as well in amongst some of the other stuff going on in AFL across the country. So yeah, lots to kind of round out and go through today.
Man, it was fantastic and a little bit of everything. As soon as I thought this competition couldn't throw more curveballs, man did it throw. Let me time out. I'm on an Australian rules footy podcast. Most of the people that are listening to this are probably cricket fans, so I got a leg side spinner that somehow found stumps. Holy shnikes. Why does this AFLW season keep finding a way to do this? So let's jump right into it. First game of the round sees the West Coast Eagles come over to Victoria and Icon Park and get a win over the Collingwood Magpies by 17, 36-19. Pies start off well in this game. I was thinking, can the Pies get their groove going, especially with an Eagles team coming across the country? But the Eagles, after quarter time, really go, you know what, Pies, not today. And they go on a nice little run and pretty much hold on to that lead all the way through this game. Annie, I'm liking this Eagles team under Daisy Pierce. She's got them rip fighting. They're just getting through. And when you get Kelly Gibson and some of the stars that the West Coast Eagles are having, it's fun to watch this young Eagles side play.
Yeah, I think Daisy Pearce has really instilled confidence in the side, and how can you not perform when you've got a coach like that? I think it was the first time Eagles have beat Collingwood as well in the AFLW history. So first time they've got consecutive wins, and I think that totals their most wins ever in a season, three. So a couple of firsts for the Eagles that they're ticking off. But yeah, a good chance to kind of pounce on Collingwood, noting I think they had to go into their train on list for this game as well with a couple injuries, and then Bree Davy going down as well. So
Mhm.
yeah, it was the Eagles to win really. So yeah, glad they got it done.
Yeah, and I love seeing Jess Hosking getting a bounce back after being delisted from Richmond. She gets another two goals in this game. So happy for her because I know that she was dealing with so many injuries at Richmond and they let her go. And it was one of those when I saw her name in the delisted, I was like, whoa, okay, that's a little bit of a shock. So to see her go out to West Coast, she found her love for footy again, and to see her making an impact on this young West Coast Eagles team. That's really, really cool. It's one of those fun stories on this West Coast Eagles side that I think has been fantastic. With the Pies, I agree with you. Bree Davy going down absolutely guts this team that's already dealing with so much with injury and all that, and their form it just continues to tank, unfortunately, considering looking at this is that the first the from one goal in the first quarter, they did not kick another goal all the way until the 7:51 mark of the fourth quarter. So it just, unfortunately, this Collingwood team, that they get their hands on it, they're just not hitting this, they're just not finding ways to hit the scoreboard, and teams are finding a way to put scores on them. Unfortunately, this looks like a long season for the girls of the black and white. So let's jump to it. The second game of the round, we go from Tuesday to Wednesday as the Brisbane Lions handle their business at home at Brighton Homes Arena up in Queensland, 81-34. Plain and simply, this Brisbane team is just so good.
Yeah, and they've been the cream of the crop for a couple years now, and it was all just one-way traffic. I mean, Dogs did good to get on the scoreboard, but I think Lions had 17 inside 50s in the first quarter, and just the trio of Veldors, Anderson, Conway, just firing on all cylinders. But good to see Elaine Grigg, who's a South Australian. I don't know if it was her first goal, but
It was. It was her first
yeah,
ever
yeah.
goal. Yep.
So I guess good news story out of out of that. But yeah, Lions just came to play and just showed like they can just score. They're just a scoring machine. So which is great for the competition to have them up and about when they are.
Well, and the best part is that Dax isn't playing, and Taylor Smith has stepped up, and she's
Yeah.
kicking goals. Sophie Conway is kicking goals. Belle Dawes kicking goals. This is one of those teams that, and I hate comparing them to the men's competition, but this Brisbane Lions team is a little bit like the Sydney Swans. They have midfielders that hit the scoreboard. Sophie
Yeah.
Conway hits the scoreboard. Belle Dawes hits the scoreboard. Ali Anderson at times will hit the scoreboard. So they don't always need their forwards like Chelsea Hotta, Dax, and Dakota Davidson when she is playing, Taylor Smith having to kick goals. So it spreads out, and it makes you that much more dangerous, because when midfielders can put it through the big sticks in AFLW, it's like gold and a half, because you're not expecting midfielders to kick many goals. So when you have 3 or 4 goals coming from your midfield in an AFLW match, that is absolutely backbreaking for your opponents, because most of the time the forwards are the ones that are kicking goals. So this is just a Lions team. Coach Starcevich just always has them up and about. They're like Energizer bunnies. You cannot stop them. You just gotta hope that they find a way to break down, because this is just such a good Lions team. But I will give my shout outs. This doggies team could have rolled over, and I don't, pardon the pun there.
Mm.
I'm not trying to do the dog pun here. They could have rolled over the way this thing was going after the first quarter, going up 22 to nothing. But they pulled their bootstraps up and they got to work in that second half. Now, did the Lions pull back a little bit, knowing they've got a condensed fixture, a second game later on in the week? Maybe. But this doggies team did not give up, including most of their points in the second half, and dragging a game that could have gone out of hand to a much more competitive margin at the end.
Yeah, yeah, I agree. And yeah, I think off the back of a bit of spark from Elaine Grigg as well. I think
Mhm.
so. Yeah, it's yeah, good on the doggies, and without their skipper as well, to be able to, like you said, pull their bootstraps up and get on with it was really good to see.
Yep. And to see the youngsters stepping up. I mean, you have Christy Lee Western Turner finally kind of finding her groove a little bit. Elaine Grigg again showing why she was an absolute nightmare for Sanford W teams. I know Annie probably is so happy not to see her flying at you, trying to tackle you as you have the football in your hand. So it's they showed why they were top level draft picks. They are going to make an impact. It just may take a little bit because of the fact they are so young, but they're going to be
Mm.
a fun team to watch as they grow with this young core. So it'll be definitely interesting to watch this doggies team grow as the season goes on, because their condensed fixture is now over, because they got to play both their games this week. We will see their second game a little bit later. We jump to Icon Park as Richmond host Carlton on Carlton's home ground, which I thought was really, really funny. But it didn't really matter, as the Richmond Tigers get a nice win, 39-6. Unfortunately, another game this season where a team doesn't kick a goal.
Mm. Yeah, and I think just looking here, they only had 25 inside 50s for the game, so that doesn't help much either when you're not
Mm-mm.
getting it in there. But across the board, there wasn't too much difference in the stats across these sides. Again, it was just the ability to score and get it in there and give it to your forwards. So yeah, Carlton got a. I just yeah, they're up and down Carlton. Again, I can't maybe like their men's a bit too, you just never know. You can't put your full trust in them just yet. But they started off the year all right, but yeah, just struggling to kick goals.
Well, I think for me, the one thing that I'm still a little confused at, and again, maybe this is just me, and again, I know I'm not in the rooms and I know I'm not at training, but for me, I just feel Carlton's too tall. Like you got
Mm.
both the Moody sisters and Jess Good. That's a lot of height. And
Yeah.
it takes away your pressure game. And when you're playing all three, I mean, I think I hate saying it, but I almost kind of feel like Celine Moody is being shoved into this team like a book that you just can't get into your bookshelf. Like
Mm.
you're just trying to shove her in there. And I just don't know if she fits right now because Jess Good and Bree Moody are playing pretty good footy. I don't think they're playing badly. So I just don't see why Celine's got to play. And again, I understand it that the twin sisters, it's great to have them on the field, but like, I really kind of feel like Celine is being put into this side and she's not fitting right now. Like, I'm not really
Mm.
seeing her make an impact on the game. I think she's being played behind the footy, which I'm not sure actually capitalizes on her strengths. I think she leads to the ball pretty well and actually marks the ball pretty well. So I'm not sure if being a defender is really fitting her. So right now,
Mm.
for me, like, I feel like they're too tall. They don't have the pressure that they need. And players like Darcy Vesio are not firing. Mia Austin are not firing. You're getting what you're going to get from Mimi Hill and Abby McKay. They're fantastic players in the center, but they can't kick the goals,
Mm.
unlike their counterparts, Richmond, where Katie Brennan and Caitlin Greiser go for 5 goals in this game. I mean, there's not much you can ask to be any better for a team when your two big forwards both kick 2 goals at least in this game. So I'm with you on Carlton being
Mm.
they're such a Jekyll and Hyde team. I just don't know what I'm getting each week, and I can't feel confident tipping them because I just
Yeah.
there's just there's something about them that's just not filling me with confidence. And again, this is a good Richmond side. I think this is a Richmond side will make top 8. I mean, you've got Mon Conti, who's an absolute superstar. Eiley Sharon has come back from her quad injury and had stepped right into the squad and not missed a beat. Katie Brennan and Caitlin Greiser are kicking goals, which is always dangerous because who do you stop? Because you can't stop both. It's absolutely impossible. So, which poisonous vial do you want to take when it comes to those two up front? So they're just there. It's going to be fun to watch this Richmond side, but I'm a little disappointed in Carlton. I think you look at their list on paper, and again, I know, coach, it's on paper. There's just something not going right at Carlton, and I just don't know. I just really don't know what it is that's just not clicking for the Blues. We jump down to Witten Oval, and yeah, played at the Doggies Bowl. There's a few placements of these games that is interesting. This is one of those games, Annie. I gotta ask, as the player, how absolutely miserable were these women
Oh.
playing in these conditions? Norse get the win 42-6, but I felt horrible because at one time there was a deluge that I you could almost barely see the field, and
Mm.
these women are having to play footy in this weather.
Yeah, I remember watching it on TV and this dark cloud was coming from from the side, and I've been in those games before, and it's a day of breaking fingers and just yeah, just not feeling good. It's some people love wet weather footy. I'll honestly say I don't enjoy it. But yeah, I think poor, poor. I think, they've really also impressed the start of the year. And I'm really they're an exciting team to watch at the moment. So to kind of have that weather and again put a dampener on it, pun intended, against a really informed side and a top two, top three side in North Melbourne, it was kind of a bit sad to see they couldn't get have a real crack at it with the conditions. But in saying that, I think like North Melbourne scored all their goals in the first half, so Port did keep them to no goals in the second half.
I think the weather helped that a lot.
But the weather and the wind definitely helped that. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm
But yeah,
like
it's disappointing.
you could tell
Yeah.
not only from the score worm, but I remember watching it and it was like almost all their goals were scored in the first in the first two quarters, and I think the rain really hit late in that early in that third
Mm,
quarter, and it was like you could tell all scoring just stopped. I mean, it almost became a game of rugby union because it just big pack of people stoppage, move the ball, kick the ball, big pack of people stoppage. Like it just
mm,
kept moving from in between the arcs. So you got to give Port Adelaide is one of those teams again. They're just like the Western Bulldogs, very young, very
mm,
talented. They're going to need some maturity time. Julia Tico gets the one goal of the game. At least they kicked a goal instead of six behinds to get their
yeah.
points. I think Julia Tico's been fantastic for Port this year, which is surprising with Gemma Houghton and Ash Saint up forward.
Mm,
That Tico is the one really kicking their goals right now for them. This is a good Port team that I think is just going to take a little bit of time to mature. And this is a North team that if you're Lauren Arnell, you're almost going, thank you, weather gods, thank you, because you kept this because this game could have got ugly. If it continued the
mm,
way it was going in the first half, Port didn't score in the entire first half. It was 41 to nothing at halftime. If I'm Lauren Arnell, the rain actually probably helped you because it let you muck this game up. It became a mongrel game. It really became kind of an arm wrestle. And it let Port Adelaide just kind of get through the rest of this game without putting up a big score on their opponents. So North's just so good. I mean, Jazzy
mm,
Garner kicking goals. That again, as I said, midfield goals are gold. Alice O'Loughlin and Kate Sheilor with their goals from the forward lines. Ruby
mm,
Tripoli bounces one in from like 50 that I thought was absolutely magnificent. This is a North team. I see why a lot of people they're a fancy to win this whole thing, and they're one of the teams I look at as being a heavy favorite to be in flag contention. But Port did not hold, they held their own. They held their own, and that's the biggest thing for a young team. Jump up to People's First Stadium up in Queensland as the Geelong Cats have really struggled to start the season, but they bounced back mightily, putting a whooping on the Gold Coast Suns 96-27, a 69-point win. And I have to keep reminding myself this is without Georgie Prasparkas.
mm. Yes. And I think another one where they kept the team scoreless at halftime. I think Geelong were up by 50 going in at the half, and Suns were yet to
Mhm.
score, which is two big losses, I guess, for Suns on their home deck against almost the opposite of the men. I think the men couldn't lose a game at home. Was that right? Or
Mhm.
and couldn't travel, and
They
now
lost two at home altogether in this season because
yeah,
they were a perfect split of the season at 12 and 12 because they won nine of their first nine at home and then lost the last two, but and
yeah.
lost their first nine and lost their last two road games. So
But yeah, yeah. But I guess Suns anyway, when you've got Rowbottom in the team, they're always just a dream to watch. But yeah, Geelong bouncing back and good to see them kind of, put the league on notice a bit too. So
yeah. Well, and Aisling McCarthy and Jackie Perry. I mean, those two up front. The scary part is you still don't have Chloe. You still don't have Chloe Shear and Georgie Prasparkas
mm,
are both not playing. This is a Geelong team that I think when they're healthy, they're going to be one of the scariest teams in the competition because you get Georgie Prasparkas back, another slick ball moving midfielder that's
mm,
really good with her kick. And when you've got Aisling Maloney kicking four in this game, Jackie Perry is absolutely dangerous. And then you add Chloe Shears shiftiness and ability to just absolutely snap it from anywhere and put it through the big sticks. This is a scary Geelong team. They showed their might. My worry
mm,
is are they going to have to battle back too much because of the fact that they had a very difficult start of the season with three games where you play North Melbourne, you play a Carlton team that you just did not have a very good performance against. So unfortunately, this is the Cats team. They're having to dig their way out. They should make finals, But
Mm.
unfortunately, I don't think they're going to be where I think they probably should be, and that is fourth. I think they should be in the top four. I have a feeling they probably aren't going to get there because of the fact that they lose two of their first three and only get a draw against Carlton. That one, that's a tough, tough pill to swallow for the Hoops.
Mm.
But if this performance is anything to look after, they still may
Mm.
be a very dangerous side come finals time. If they get Chloe Shear and Georgie Pasparkas back, they could be quite the dangerous side going in to finals for sure. They're going to be a team I cannot wait to watch. Another team that I am absolutely adoring watch play footy is the Hawthorn Hawks. Just like the men, Hawkball
Mm.
has absolutely taken over footy in both the men's and the women's competition as the Hawks put a whooping on the previously
Mm.
undefeated Saints 74-17. I mean, this is a fun team to watch because the coaching staff has literally gone, we got a lot of players that can run, we got a lot of players that can kick the footy pretty well. You know what? Let's play run and gun footy, and it has looked fantastic. And Greta Bodie goes bunta with
Mm.
6 goals in this game.
Yeah, that was kind of the only note I had on this one was 6 goals, Greta Bodie. And yeah, it was disappointing for the Saints. I was really kind of backing them in and, for a team that hasn't had too much success, I was really hoping they'd put up a fight to the Hawks. So yeah, sad to see them go down in their first loss, but again, credit to the Hawks and just continuing that hawk ball movement that's obviously coming across the club right now. So hopefully it doesn't die down too early for the women.
Yeah, it's very interesting looking at this, looking at the score worm and seeing that Greta Bodie actually goes on two different 3 goal stretches where she kicks 3 goals for Hawthorn in a row. Because
Yeah.
from the second quarter to the start of the third into the early third, she kicks three in a row, and then she ends the game with three in a row.
You don't
So
see that very often at all in
it's
the game, yeah.
absolutely
Even in
insane.
the men's game, you don't see that.
Exactly. Exactly. So it's absolutely crazy. Again, I don't think the Saints are bad. I just think they ran into a Hawks team that just had their day. And when Greta Bodie's kicking six, like what can you do? What can you do? I mean, there's not much that you can do because Greta Bodie is quite an incredible player, especially when she's around goals. Such a magician with footy in hand. So again, Hawks, they're going to be fun to watch. I'm interested to see can they get into the top four.
Mm.
They got their test against Adelaide. You kind of showed they're not there yet. They're not there for that top four yet. But with Geelong struggling a little bit, can the Hawks get there? This is a very good indication, and they've played really well in games that they should win, and they've done pretty well on it. They're going to be so much fun. Cannot wait to keep an eye on this Hawks. Their condensed fixture will be fun. Will be fun to keep an eye on. So now what I have to say is one of the games of the round, and this is one of
Mm.
those, this is the game that really I brought, is the reason why I said we have the leg spin ball that somehow finds stumps because I was not expecting this as Fremantle knock
Mm.
off the Melbourne Demons by 6, 47-41. Aisling McCarthy, though Irish, finds a way to put herself in footy lore as she kicks a goal after the siren to send the Dockers into jubilation out west.
Yeah, I only watched the first half of this game, so was shocked to see. I think Freo kicked the last 4 goals all in the last quarter, um, and they had the footy pretty much the whole of the quarter with 16-2 inside 50. So they stormed home and yeah, I didn't actually know it was a goal after the siren. So there you go. I should have kept it on. It was one of those games that if there's a 20-point lead, you in AFLW you tend to think um, is there much of a chance for a team? But I need to stop thinking like that. Even as a player myself, 20 points these days isn't unachievable with the pace of the game at the moment. So Freo really showed that.
Well, and the thing is with the 5-6-5. I have to remember
Mm,
the numbers because of 16 instead of 18, which don't get me
yeah.
started on that. Don't get me started on that particular pet peeve of mine, because in my personal opinion, there should be 18 women on the field, not just 16, but w
Mm.
reel it in, coach, reel it in. But it is one of those where that structure that you have to do at the start of the quarter does make it to where if you can win the ruck tap and get
Mhm.
going forward of stoppage, anything is possible. And when you have
Yeah.
Mimstrom going up against a backup in Georgia Campbell, you knew if Fremantle could get out through the front of stoppage, it's definitely possible. And they've got goal kickers. You've got Ebony Antonio, Gabby Sullivan goes for three in this game, and like I said, you have absolute superstars like Aisling McCarthy stepping up. So this didn't surprise me because I think Melbourne has really showed that they've been shaky a little bit because of the fact that their depth was picked off a little bit with four players leaving the club and going to other clubs in this offseason, which is the most ever that Melbourne's ever lost, and which is not something that they're used to. They had kind of prided themselves on everybody staying home, and that's why they were so good. But the other thing that I got to say that I had to give a round of applause to for Fremantle is that previous to a few games, when Anya Tig isn't on, Fremantle is completely off. Anya Tig gets hurt in this game and is
Yeah.
not there, and Fremantle still find a way to get a win. Like that's
Mhm.
impressive. They're starting to find other options to goal, and I'll repeat it again: midfield goals are gold, even more so after the siren. But it's just honestly fantastic. I'm glad to see Gabby O'Sullivan healthy. She's fought through injuries the last two seasons and has not been herself. So the fact that she kicks 3 goals in this game really, really helps out this team that, like I said, is still missing. Kiara Bowers and Ann Standa are both out with this season. I won't say injury because Kiara Bowers is pregnant. So can't can't say that. I can't say that one. That one's not actually accurate. And stand it with the knee injury. So both are missing this season. We'll say it that way. There we go, coach. I'm being respectful. My apologies to anybody. I wasn't trying to insinuate anything on that one. So, but a great win for Fremantle again. Throws in Melbourne. It'll be interesting to see how Melbourne bounce back from this one because this is a shocker. This is a little bit of a shocker for most people in the league. I'll be interested to see what some of the pundits think about that result because Melbourne was already reeling, and that really doesn't help. That really doesn't help their already reeling season with a loss to Fremantle on the road. So we jump to Thomas Farms Oval in your beloved South Australia as your beloved Adelaide Crows have themselves a day against the Dons with a nice 33 point win, 62-29. A fantastic win by the Tricolors.
Yeah, it was really good to see the Crowies get a healthy score as well on the scoreboard and just see, some of their stars, I guess, that have been maybe in the wings and not really really take charge this season, like your Caitlin Gould, even Maddie Newman, who's having probably one of her best seasons. And so she should. She's one of the best kicks, I think, in the comp and an extremely underrated player that normally sits behind the ball. So yeah, it was great to see them get the win and quite a cruisy win for them as well. So it's
Mhm.
always nice as well.
Yeah,
On a
I think
beautiful day as well. It was raining at the start, but turned into a beautiful day down in Unley here in Adelaide. So
yeah, the Crows just too good, and I'm great, and I'm happy to see Neve Kelly bounce back and get a couple of goals. She's
yeah.
she's been a little bit quieter than she has been the last couple of seasons since she's joined the Crows. She's been fantastic for them on the wing. I mean, you get goals from Nafi Ebony Marinoff, you get goals from Danielle Ponte, you get goals from Caitlin Gould. They become a forehead. They become such a monster to stop because you just don't know where the goals are coming from. When you've got Ann Hatchard and Ebony Marinoff, you know your midfielders got to play defense because both will go forward, both will kick goals. And then you got to deal with Danielle Ponta can go through the midfield and be
Mm.
that striker-ish forward midfielder. Caitlin Gould is one of the toughest matchups through full forward. Very few defenders can stomp her completely. So with her getting going, and then the ever the legend Chelsea Randall kicking one of the last goals of the game, is great to see her get on the scoreboard as well. This is the Crows team again. If you look at their list just on paper, this is a flag team. This is a flag contender team. Can they do it? Because again, the depth has been tested. Several of their depth players have left over the last couple of seasons. Again, I think the Crowies, the Roos, and the Lions will be three teams, I think, fighting for those two spots. Will there be a fourth team? Will it be a Geelong? Will it be a Melbourne? Will they bounce back and get into discussion will be the fun one. The Dons, again, Bonnie Two Goods out. It really has hurt them. You can definitely tell that they miss her going forward. Maddie Prasparkas, again, constantly good. Georgia G has been fantastic. Great to see that she's bounced back from her injuries. They're playing good, but you just have an overwhelming avalanche of talent going against a young Dons team that is still kind of getting to know each other in their third season. So I don't think the Dons played horrible. You played a really, really good Crows team
Yeah.
that are just they're so talented. You can tell why they are a three-time flag winning club for sure. So we jump to the next game. Yes, ladies and gentlemen, there are more games still to come because
Yeah.
we still have three more games to talk about because we don't get the last game of the first round because we get our second game as the Western Bulldogs. Yes, ladies and gentlemen, the Western Bulldogs are on the board. They have 4 points as they knock off the Collingwood Magpies by 42, 57-15. Finally, the doggies are off the schneid. The zero in the win column is gone. 4 points for the Western Bulldogs.
Yes, I guess in saying that, Collingwood still haven't got their win. Hey, so I guess one team had to leave this round with still no wins, and doggies got it done. So team effort by the doggies. I looked; they had 11 players in double figure disposals. So it's just a team effort by the dogs, and yeah, again they've been building for that. And again, great to see them kind of come together as a team without their skipper and get the job done. um, and yeah, Collingwood, it's going to be a tough year, but yeah, we'll see. It's a real we'll see how we go with Collingwood, but hoping that they can find some form leading into the back half of the season.
Yeah, you want Collingwood to get healthy. Like that's been their
Yeah.
biggest issue this season is just so many injuries. I mean, they've had more. I think they've probably played some of the most amount of players this season because they just keep having to call up special sign-on players because of their injuries or
Mm.
their suspensions early in the season. But I want to kind of stay on the positive a little bit and seeing Heidi Woodley, Christy Lee Western Turner, Georgia Borg, some not household names right now
Mm.
getting onto the scoreboard for the Western Bulldogs. I mean, yes, Jess Fitzgerald kicks 2 goals. Jess Fitzgerald has gone to that halfback line this season and played really, really well for them. Christy Lee Weston Turner gets 2 goals in this game, again, showing why she was the number one overall in this particular draft after signings. I know for those Port Adelaide fans that are listening, yes, you got the two best players in the draft. We know. Okay. But I love the doggies' attack in this game. They
Mm.
literally would not let the Pies down. And the Pies not having their skipper in Bree Davy, you can tell it kind of left them a little bit rudderless through the midfield. I know you've got Sarah Rowe. I know you've got Ruby Slicer, who are fantastic players. Sab Frederick, again, showing why she's one of the best rucks in the competition this year. But just, again, the doggies they had more momentum. They had more bite. This is one of those games where the doggies kind of capitalized on their youth and kind
Mm.
of took advantage of Collingwood's a little bit more of their experience. I wasn't going to say older because that's just rude, especially considering almost every single one of those ladies that's on the field is older than I am. Their experience and their years of playing footy and the fact that they had to play 2 games in a week, their youth, you could see they had more energy. You could see that they
Yeah.
were much more up and about in this game. And you could tell once they took the front, they did not let it go. Pardon the pun here. They were like a dog on a bone and they bit on it and they did not let it go. So congratulations to the doggies. Like I said, hope the Pies can get healthy and get off the schneid. You never like seeing a no-win team. Maybe it's because I had to deal with that 2 years ago with my Swans, but which actually is a great transition, coach. And you weren't even
Yeah.
trying. As we go up to the Sydney Derby. Yes, ladies and gentlemen, the Sydney Derby, not the Battle of the Bridge, because as I've been told by many of my Sydney-based friends, there is no bridge between the two clubs that makes sense.
Yes.
So the Sydney Derby shows again, just like it did last year, an absolute classic as the Swans survive a courageous battle back by the Giants to get a 3-point win, 43-40. And we see some of the young superstars for Sydney have days out. Cynthia Hamilton kicks 2 goals. Monham battles back from a dangerous tackle, then unfortunately sent one of the Giants to the tribunal and has received her a 2 game suspension. She fights in through this game. She kicks a goal and has a lot of impact in this. Man, this was a fun game to watch because these two teams got after it.
Yeah, and Sydney really got the I guess momentum from the start. They got that early lead, which really held, I guess, them steady for the rest of the game. So um when you've got a team charging from behind, it can be quite daunting. So I'm glad that the Swannies were able to hold on and I guess riding the momentum as well of the men's as well. So the red and white is in full force at the moment. But yeah, I think Laura Gardner as well with 32 from the Sydney for Swannies was also great. Another um, just young zippy little player that just finds the ball. So um, but yeah, we'll see what else they can do, Sydney, moving forward.
It was very interesting because they had Meg McDonald from Geelong, which is where Laura Gardner came from. And they kept talking. They were like,
Mm,
wouldn't you love to have Laura Gardner right now? You can tell Meg was kind of like, yeah, it was the one thing that you could tell she was kind of sad about. It was the fact that because of Nina Morrison and Zarly Friswell
mm,
and Georgie Prasparkas, that's why Laura Gardner was able to slip through their fingers and get up to Sydney. And she's shown why she was this
mm,
top level talent. She gets to the footy. My one thing, and this is me nitpicking just the tiniest bit here, is that I sometimes her disposal is a little bit
mm.
sometimes, but she
Yeah.
gets to the footy. I don't mind that. And then I'm gonna do one quick question without notice, Annie, because of the fact that how awesome is it to see 5,500 people at Henson Park
Yeah.
again, Sydney and the New South Wales fans showing up for both the Swans and the Giants.
Yeah, I did see that. I think it was their record crowd. I don't know if it was record crowd for Derby or yeah, but either way, some form of a record crowd up there in a state that's not very AFL dominant. So I think yeah, momentum's coming up Sydney's way, and hopefully we're getting some more converted over to our lovely game.
Well, I know this, and I've seen a few in the AFLW media and a few that they say if there is ever a women's gather round, Henson Park up in New South Wales should be where it should take place. And you know what?
Mm,
Not just because I'm a Swans fan, I think it would be magnificent for the competition, not only for footy in New South Wales, but just the competition as a whole. Because Henson Park is a magnificent place. The hill
mm,
can look absolutely fantastic, and I think there's some positive momentum with the Swans' success. I think the Giants are kind of going off of it as well too. I think it'd be great for AFLW to do a gather round instead of this condensed fixture. Let's just have a gather round in one round. We'll see whether that happens anytime soon. We'll have to see because this condensed fixture, as much as I love footy every day of the week, can't get a little crazy for just a short competition with very little margin for error. But
mm.
I have to say this. I have to give my plaudits to Zarly Goldsworthy. She kicks two in this lat, and she literally had me absolutely praying that the Swans held on for this one. I love Zarly Goldsworthy to death. She's one of my favorite players. If I could nick her from GWS and put her in a Swans Guernsey, I would do it like that because she's absolutely so much fun to watch. She kicks two late, and then Amy Whelan with the dagger late to kind of put it away, even though GWS kicks one. Brody Mowbray kicks one with like 30 seconds left, and we went, uh-oh, oh no, no, no. Like I
Yeah.
didn't want another after the siren, and didn't want another after the siren potential attempt for GWS. So, but this was a fun game to watch. I thought it was absolutely fantastic. It was almost it was almost insane how much these girls. There's a lot of intermixing because you had Alicia Newman making her debut for GWS after she had played a season with the Sydney Swans. You have players that have like Beck Privatelli and Ali Morfitt, who she didn't play, but are former Giants. So surprisingly, for being a derby, which you think would be heated,
Mm,
there's a lot of friendships between the clubs, which I actually kind
mm,
of, for me personally, I like. I think it's fantastic for the competition. Shows that these two clubs can get along, even though the men decide to try to rip each other's heads off when they play footy. But I will just I will stop on that one and move on. Last game of the round, Brisbane shows why they just are just so good. They go out to Mineral Resources Park in their second game. As much as I love Daisy, this was a titanic matchup here. And again, Brisbane just too good. They take the lead early and just hold on with a 61-16 win over the West Coast Eagles.
Yeah, they really put the Eagles back in their place. And a real statement. I think they've got the Crows next week, I believe.
I'll have to
Um,
look. Let me pull up and I will be able to confirm that.
so yeah, I
This is
think
what we call live podcasting, trying to do.
yeah.
All right,
I could,
I've got next week's fixtures up, and you are right because that is one of
yeah.
the Sunday games as Brisbane at home will host Adelaide.
Oh, they love putting crows on a Sunday. So, but yeah, I think they just dominated contested footy, got the repeat entries, and Taylor Smith again, she kicked, I think she's kicked more goals, this in 5 games than she has all of last season. So, um, yeah, just getting it done, Brisbane, and their stars are shining. So, yeah, just really keen to see them play Crows, and I think it'll be match of the round. Um, looking forward. So yeah.
It'll be fun for sure. That's always one of the matchups that you look forward to each and every season in AFLW,
Mm,
and then having North there around, which I think they both still have to. Brisbane already played North, so North I think still has to play Adelaide, so it'll be interesting
mm,
to see how that goes. So that is it. That is all 11 games. Yes, ladies and gentlemen, 11 games tipped. Four went through round four. Let's jump to the burning questions. This is a lot of fun. I love the chat that we have, Annie. I cannot wait for this one. So, as you kind of said, you didn't even realize we had a condensed fixture. So, the first week of condensed fixtures has come, it has gone. Do you like having the daily dose of footy?
As a spectator, yes, I can certainly appreciate it. But I guess it puts the women, uh, on their own kind of platform and stage, having it, during the week. But in terms of from an athlete perspective, I don't know how it works in the high performance space and how they're managing the loads. But um, yeah, I can guess I understand why they have to do it. They want to get another season out before the end of the year and look ahead, for next year. But yeah, at the expense, I guess, of some injuries and with the short turnarounds, less recovery for the players. So there's pros and cons, but I'd probably leaning towards more cons. I don't know. I don't know.
No, I completely get it. I completely get it. I'm looking at it like this. There's the fan. And then there's the practical person who loves the competition. And this is how I say it. As the fan, having footy each and every day is absolutely magnificent because I know I can wake up in the morning. For me, again, I know different time period. I can wake up in the morning, I can sit down, I can chuck it on while I'm working and just listen to footy for four
Hmm.
consecutive days during the week. Like I usually get Fridays because usually that's when the week starts. But
Mm.
having Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday now, it's cool because I can sit here and I can listen to a game of footy and I don't have to sit here and try to go through 5 games over an evening the next morning. So
Hmm.
for me personally, this is part of it. I almost want to say is not just fan, but the podcaster in me loves it because it takes off having to watch 8 hours of football in a 6 hour time block to try to get ready for the podcast. So having a game on Tuesday, a game on Wednesday, a game on Thursday. Well, there's 3 games already through before
Mm.
Friday. So 3 of the games that I need to keep an eye on are already done. So for me, I love it because it gives me that footy fix during the week, especially this week with grand final week. And I don't have to say why I'm excited for grand final day. Everybody
Hmm.
knows this gives me my fix. This keeps me going. I mean, I know I've still got the Brownlow to watch, so don't
Yeah, I've got it on
no
my
no
TV. Just
spoilers. No
I
spoilers.
won't.
Don't tell me. Don't tell
I
me.
won't.
Just kidding. I'll watch it later. I'll watch it later. But for me, it gives me that fix to get me through this week because this week is going to be so long because I'm so excited for my Friday night, Saturday afternoon for you. So I love it. But as the practical person that knows some of these players and knows what they have to go through, it's difficult.
Mm.
because I know that the recovery is going to be reduced. I know that for some of these players, they're going to get no train for their condensed week. They're going to get very little training in between first game, second game. It's probably going to be recovery the next day, quick film study, maybe a walkthrough, maybe a kick the day of,
Mm.
and then it's game. Which for some people, it's less stressful because you have less training time and less wear and tear, but the wear and tear that you are getting is about 5 times higher than a regular week of footy. So it's going to decrease your career just the tiniest bit because of that. The good thing, though, as the women, though, is that you've only have one. Where remember during COVID, you had about 4 rounds for the men where they were playing game, 2 days off, game, 2 days off, game, two
Yeah.
days off. So is it as bad as the men's during COVID? No. Is it as bad because of the fact that these women have to play a shorter season? So the impacts of an injury could be triple what they could be in a men's season? Absolutely. So that's where I totally and completely get you. I think, and again, I've said this many times, and maybe I'll grab my soapbox, tuck it underneath. This is where AFL House continues to show that AFLW is an afterthought. It is not seen as a legit competition. And that is coming from somebody that loves this competition. I love the women that are playing in this. I think you're magnificent athletes. I love women's footy. I think it's so cool to see its impact on society. But it's very frustrating because it's still seen as this novelty. You're not given the credit that you deserve because many of you are incredible athletes. I wish I was as talented as some of you ladies are at footy when I played, legitimately. So it's very frustrating when I see these women that they're, how to say this, you're not looked at as legit. And I don't like saying that. Trust me, that I hate that sentence. But that's the way it seems to me that AFL House is handling the AFLW. You're just not legit. You're something for us to appease part of the footy landscape, and that's frustrating to me. And I think that's I hate saying that out loud. I mean, as somebody that plays in this beautiful game that is football, I mean, it's hard not to see that the AFLW, I understand the season is in a really weird situation, but I just don't see how the league has really made this league legit with this
Mm.
constant putting of games in just either bad time slots or bad grounds. It just, I feel like every time they have a chance to put a statement to legitimize this competition, they stub their toe and they fall face first into the wet concrete.
Yeah, I guess, yeah, the integrity of the competition. Yeah, ebbs and flows, and like you said, a bit of an afterthought. And you like to think that, they've got these plans to better the competition moving forward, and but we never really know what that looks like. So it's hard to kind of say at the moment, the future of the competition and what it looks like. But again, you like to think there's those plans um, at AFL House going, that they're having those conversations.
I hope. I really do. I really hope
Yeah.
I'm wrong. I really do. But just every single decision when I think you can't they can't, and I'm gonna say it, if they can't bugger it up more, they find a way to do
Yeah.
it. And I think that's the frustrating part for me because these women deserve so much better than what they're getting. They just do. Okay. So take away from the negative, tape soapbox, put it back into the corner. Thanks, coach. Thanks, soapbox. Appreciate your assistance there. All right, let's have some fun. So, this next question, I want you to do me a favor. I want you to take the Adelaide Crows and I will take the Sydney Swans out of this. Which team has been your team to watch this year?
Oh, I mean, we've spoken obviously about every team so far, and we've got teams like the Eagles that are up and coming, the Hawks that are just exciting because they're the Hawks. Um, like I said, I really wanted Saints to be something big this year. So I don't, and then you got the Suns that, sometimes they look good. And when you've got stars in their team, it's just always fun to watch someone with stars. Um, oh, I'm just gonna throw my hat in the ring, and let's go with let's go the Saints because I feel like the Saints kind of reflect a bit of where the direction of where my footy team's going. And I think they've got some great leaders and senior players. So I'm really keen to see how they bounce back after their loss to the Hawks. And yeah, just see what happens really. They're a bit of an unknown at the moment in my book. So we'll see how they can bounce back and it could be exciting to watch that next week.
For me, it's got to be the Hawks. They're just so exciting. They're just so much fun. They're so much fun to watch. They really have the entire club has grabbed on to this look at me attitude and just like
Yeah.
basked in it. They stand there like a professional wrestler in a spotlight and just put their hands out. They're just like gaze upon me because that's just the way they've played. And it's fun to watch. And the coaching staff, like I said, they took the strengths of a lot of their list and they've just made a perfect game plan that has fitted. They're going to be fun because they're just going to go out. They're going to have a crack. If they win, they win. They lose, they lose. If they lose, it's fine. They're a young team. They're still building. They've got some talented stars, but there's still a young core underneath it that they're having to build. They're going to be fun. And they're around this week, getting their getting the at least the men's old rival of Geelong. Cannot wait for this matchup. Cannot wait. The Hawks for me are their box office. They're something to watch. I love watching the Crows. I love watching Rizzy. I love watching North, but the Hawks have they've captured my interest outside of my beloved Sydney Swans. They have captured my interest. I have to watch the Hawks when they play because they're so entertaining, because they play a brand of footy that's so much fun to watch. It's quick, it's fast, and they get after you pressure wise. It's so much fun to watch. Cannot wait to see how this young Hawks side develops as this season goes on. So, as per usual, I always like to ask a question of my co-host when they have a team that they support specifically. And you're
Mhm.
a massive Adelaide Crows fan. So, Adelaide is the last of the unbeatens. There are no more teams without a zero in the win-loss column. So I ask this of you, can they go unbeaten or could a loss be a good thing for this Crows team going into finals?
Yeah, that is a tough one. You always liked to have that loss so you can feel it and reflect on it and don't have that monkey on your shoulder kind of leading into finals. But I feel like the Crows is just such a well-oiled machine. Even if they win every game, I don't even think they'll have that elephant in the room mentality because they're just like because for them winning's just what they do. So they could again, Brisbane will definitely put it up for the next round. I'm just looking at their run home. Um, I mean, they potentially could. They've got the Saints after that. Collingwood. They've got North, and Cat. So I guess there is potential for it, but I think they do obviously have to take on the two other giants of the competition. But I don't think it'll impact them if they go undefeated. I think they'll just get it done.
Yeah, and you still do have Melbourne too. I know they're a little bit down, but don't sleep
Mm.
on Melbourne. They've still got the firepower to do something. I will say this when it comes to the Crows, and this is not be me. I think your loss comes this week, and I'm not trying to downplay it, but just because Brisbane has been your Achilles heel because they play a style that I think sometimes the Crows have trouble stopping because the Crows midfield is strong, it's big, it's powerful. Brisbane's midfield is quick, they're agile, and they're smaller. And I think sometimes
Mm.
that gets Adelaide because if the ball gets to ground, the big bodies of the midfield of Ebony Marinoff and Hatchard sometimes have trouble trying to catch the Ali
Mm.
Andersons, the Baldaws. I think if you have your loss, I think it's this week because of the fact you're facing your Achilles heel team and it's up in Queensland. So who knows what the
Yeah.
weather types are. And sometimes when you get into that tropical climate, which Brisbane trains in a lot, sometimes it can give the Crows a little bit of trouble. This is a good Crows team. I don't think it's going to, if they lose to Brisbane, going to take them out of flying contention. They're just too good. That's not going to happen. But for some weird reason, Brisbane tends to be that team that always seems to give them trouble because of the kind of opposites when it comes to their midfield. Again, Brisbane like to play quick, they like to use their speed because they're not a big bodied team. where Adelaide, they have that girth, they have that strength in the center of the midfield, so they kind of have to power things through. And when you've got a lot of little gnats running at you, sometimes it could be a pain for this Crows team. So I worry that your losses this week, but sometimes that's a good thing because if you lose early, you lose earlier, it gives you more time to build momentum going to the finals. North, I think you play North pretty well. I don't think they're as dangerous a side for you as Brisbane is. So that's kind of my thoughts on that. Melbourne, if you get Melbourne playing like they did against Fremantle, you should beat them. But again, you never know. It's this is the Crows team again. This is the Crows team that can finish fourth and they can finish first. It just depends on how they do in these certain matchups. Like I said, Brisbane will be their test because up in Queensland against a quick ball movement team, against a team that's very contest, it'll be fun. And I cannot wait for that one. That was going to be a fun one. So we jump to the part of the podcast where Coach takes over just the tiniest bit. We have Team of the Week and the debut of the power rankings. We have 4 rounds. I've got some forms, so we're going to go into the power rankings. So we'll start with Team of the Week. We always start in defense. I know Annie smiles whenever I say that because, as the defender that she is, she loves a good old fashioned defender. So we'll start on the fullback line where we have Gold Coast Daisy Darcy and Sydney's Brianna Terrence. I know Brianna turned her ankle in this game, but still had 11 intercept possessions down back for the Swannies. She's been magnificent for the Swans down back, especially getting a little bit more work down back this year than she did last year. On the halfback line sees Emma O'Driscoll of the Fremantle Dockers, Sinead Goldrick of the Melbourne Demons, and Maddie Gay of the Essendon Bombers. On the wings, we see Brisbane's Sophie Conway and Neve Kelly of the Adelaide Crows. In the guts, in the center, and the ruck, we have Lucy Wales of the Hawthorn Hawks. And the ruck in the other mid positions, we see North's Jasmine Garner, Brisbane's Belle Dawes, and Adelaide's Ebony Marinoff round out the center. And the half forward line, we see Gabby O'Sullivan of the Fremantle Dockers, Taylor Smith of the Brisbane Lions, and Geelong's Jackie Perry. In the full forward line, we see Geelong's Aisling McCarthy and Hawthorn's Greta Bodie rounds out the starters. On the bench, on the defense, we see Hawthorn's Jenna Richardson. The midfielder is Michaela Bowen of the Geelong Cats. The ruck is Mim Strom of the Fremantle Dockers. Our forward is Caitlin Greiser of the Richmond Tigers. And I'm gonna do one tiny curveball for my utility. You kick a goal after the siren, you're gonna get a spot on Coach's Team of the Week. Aisling McCarthy of the Fremantle Dockers will be the utility for this particular team. So I know that's a lot of names really quickly. There, Annie. Your thoughts on Team of the Week?
Great. I think you wrapped it up perfectly. I couldn't have done that. I think yeah, it's so hard to pick from such a large round as well. Players can get missed, they can fly under the radar. So, obviously our forwards or a couple of the forwards this round had a day out. So, they really
Mhm.
put their hand up. And yeah, great to see kind of Neve Kelly out on the wing as well. Again, someone that can fly under the radar. But
Yep.
and then yeah, the back line rounds it all out, and good to see utilities as well getting a spot on the bench.
Yep. Well, what I do is like I do with the men, like I do with the men. The only thing I don't do for the men is I don't have a sub. But I try to do is the total number of players that are on a team is how I do my team of the week. So I do 22 for the men, I do 21 for the women, so 5 on the bench. So I need a utility who I can kind of just grab of somebody that has a great performance. Now, the
Mhm.
other thing that I need to say for those that are watching that are probably like, "Hey, coach, you've got 11 games. How did you do it?" I did one game from each team. So the Western Bulldogs Collingwood matchup and the Brisbane Lions West Coast matchup were not taken into effect because it's the second game of the round. It's a little technical detail, but I thought it just uncomplicates this instead of trying to go, oh no, we've got an extra 4 teams to go through. So that's how I do it. It's the first game that each team plays. That's where we take your credentials from each team. So that's kind of how I'm doing it for the rest of the condensed part of the fixture. So here we go. Power rankings. I know everybody is a tizzy on this, even though it's gonna pretty much be kind of no duh, especially early in the season. At 5, the Fremantle Dockers. At 4, the North Melbourne Kangaroos. At 3, the Richmond Tigers. At 2, the Brisbane Lions. And at 1, da 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 da, what a surprise, the undefeated Adelaide Crows. I know, such a shocker, right?
No, they just can't be taken down, can they?
Well,
But
it's
it's yeah,
4-0 and really haven't really, I mean, they really haven't been challenged again. Like I said, I think their challenge is still to come,
yeah.
and they're playing such good football right now. They're such a well-drilled team. They know what they're doing. And I like that their coach is shifting the magnets around. He's really trying to be sure that they're ready because when they do the condensed fixture, you're gonna have to be able to adjust to it. So Crows, they're just so good. Cannot wait for their Brisbane Lions matchup this week.
Yeah, I'm will be on the couch watching that one for sure.
That one will be fun. Let's jump to it. I know we're early in the week, but let's do some tipping because we've got a fun condensed round as we get ourselves ready for grand final week in the men's competition. The women will take center stage through most of the week. So we'll start on Tuesday, a fun one
Mm.
at Icon Park as the Richmond Tigers take on a young, scrappy Port Adelaide power team. Who do you like in this one?
Another tough one. Like I want to see Port bounce back, and I think on paper they're a very talented team. Um, but I think Richmond might just get this done, a bit more classy, playing for just, again, security moving into the back half of the season. So I think Richmond will get this one.
I'm going to tip Richmond, but Port's going to give him a challenge.
Mm.
This is a young, talented Port Adelaide side. They've got some really, really good players throughout their lineup. I just think it's one of those. It's the class of Mon Conti. It's the class of Ailey Sharon. It's the class of Ali Brennan. One of those superstars on this team is going to have that breakout, and I think that's going to be the make or break it part of this. So I like Richmond in this one, especially over in Melbourne. But I think Port give them definitely going to challenge the Richmond Tigers. So Wednesday night footy sees Carlton take on North Melbourne also at Icon Park. Icon Park is definitely getting its workout this week. Carlton,
Yeah,
North Melbourne. I like North in this one. North just too good. Carlton a little too inconsistent for me.
yeah, I agree. Yeah, North will probably get it done. Again, would like to see it be a good game, a competitive game. But North will classy. They'll get it done probably by about 20 points maybe. But Carlton would like to see them hang in there.
Yeah, it'll be Carlton's got some young midfielders, so it'll be interesting to see how they match up against Jenna Bruton, Ash Riddell, and Jazzy Garner, and then Jazz Garner coming off, and then Jasmine Garner coming off, Emma Carney coming off half back line. I'm getting my names mixed up here. What the heck, coach? Come on. So no, I just North a little bit too much talent. I think that this could get away from Carlton if they can't jump North early and put them on the back foot. So fun one down at GMHBA Stadium. Two ripping teams. Cannot wait for this one. Geelong v Hawthorn. Who do you like in this one?
Oh, again, two exciting teams, but I guess we should keep going on the Hawks bandwagon. I don't know, you've made it very exciting this episode, coach, about the Hawks. I'm kind of had lost a bit of faith after the men's comp and they didn't deliver a couple of weeks ago, but or maybe Cats at home. Cats are good, always good at home. So I'm gonna go Cats. You might go Geelong, but sorry, you might go Hawks, but I'll go the Cats just so.
I'll say this. If I knew Georgie Prasparkas was going to play, I'd probably the tip the Cats because the Cats at home, they know the ground. And with their speed, I think the skinny part of the ground down at GMHBA Stadium could even this game out. But I don't
Mm,
think Georgie's supposed to be back, which then I think that makes Nina Morrison and Amy McDonald have to face a few more.
mm,
They have a few less options for Geelong through the midfield. I'm gonna tip the Hawks, but this is one of those. This is a coin flipper. This is a coin flipper because you have again some deadly accurate, good goal kickers. Aisling Maloney, Jackie Perry up forward. Hawks, they really, except for Greta Bodie, you're just really not sure how they're going to score goals. So can Geelong shut down Greta Bodie? I just think there's too many weapons through the midfield for Hawthorn. I think it's going to catch Geelong, especially with no Georgie Pasparkas. Now, if Georgie plays, I may flip this tip. Right now, I'm going to stay at Hawthorn. I want to see if Georgie plays or not because I think that could flip it towards Geelong if Georgie plays. So tip Hawthorn right now, but I can't wait to see selection on that one. An interesting one at the Swinburne Center in Victoria as Collingwood hosts the Gold Coast. Can the Pies get their first win, or can the Suns come down to Victoria and steal 4 points?
I think, I mean, I think Pies might get it done. I think they're such a strong club, and their culture would be really down at the moment. So I think it'd be good to see them get the win on the board, and Suns again don't know, how they're going to go against a stronger club like Collingwood. So and I think that pressure as well, on the Suns as well to get a win against a team that's not really in form at the moment might be too much for the side. So I'm going to go Collingwood.
This is one of those. I wish Bree Davy was playing. If Bree Davy was playing, I'd be much more confident in tipping Collingwood legitimately. But it's the fact that Bree Davy is probably going to be out, and you're facing Claudia Whitford, Charlie Rowbottom,
Mm.
and you have the two-headed monster of Tara Bohannon and Jack Bahai going forward. So Stacey Livingston's gonna have to choose which one. I think this is one of those. As much as I would love Collingwood to get a win, I think Gold Coast strengths are where Collingwood are, that they're at some of their weaknesses, and I think Gold Coast will capitalize. Gold Coast win this one. I want Collingwood to win so then every team has a win, but I worry Gold Coast is just the littlest bit too good on this one when it comes to their strength. So I'm going to tip the Sunnies in this one, but like I said, hoping the Pies get the win. So Windy Hill down in Melbourne as Essendon welcome the Melbourne Demons to Windy Hill. I hate this one because both teams have some injuries in some places. I need to know, is Eden Zanka going to be healthy? Kate Hoare, can she get going through the midfield? I don't like a talisman, a Bonnie too goodless. Essendon Bombers have been a little lackluster, unfortunately for me. So I'm going to tip the D's in this one, hoping they get a bounce back after a less than impressive performance against the Fremantle Dockers. So I'm going to tip the D's in this matchup.
Yeah, I agree. I think they're due for a bounce back, the D's, and it's a 1:35 game here. So smack bang in the middle of our Friday arvo. So might not be able to watch this one, but yeah, I think the D's will bounce back and quite convincingly maybe.
Yeah, this is a Friday. This is a Thursday evening game for me. So it's
Yeah.
11:05 on a Thursday night.
Great. Perfect. Prime time
No,
for
no,
you.
not really. No, the
Oh,
the
hang on.
the the
Did you say
the,
AM or PM?
the PM 11:05
Oh, sorry, I
p.m.
thought you said 7. I just heard the back. I
Nope,
was
nope,
like,
nope.
perfect.
The Gold Coast Collingwood one's at 9:05 on Thursday night. So that's not too bad, but just maybe just the tiniest bit too late considering that game will end about 1:05 in the morning. And I've still got to be to
Yeah.
work, and I'm gonna wake up at 4:15 for the Swans v Doggies matchup, which is in 2 games. So we'll go to the next one on our list, a fun one at RSEA Park in Melbourne as St. Kilda host the Dockers of Fremantle coming over from the West. Saints, Dockers, who do you like in this one?
Oh, I'm gonna go the Saints. I've just got a soft spot for the Saints, and I want to believe in them. I want to believe in them. So I'm gonna put it out into the universe, and I'm gonna manifest that they get it done on their
I'm
home deck. I don't
I-
know. We'll
I'm gonna go with you, and it's more as because of what Fremantle may not have. And again, this is another one of those. A player could change my tip. Anya Tig, is she in or is she out? If
Mm.
she's out, I think the Saints midfield can take away what Melbourne didn't, and that's the scoring ability of the midfielders like the Gabby O'Sullivans and the Aisling McCarthy's because of some of the talent you have there. And Jesse Wardlaw is an absolute matchup nightmare. Is there somebody that can take it from Fremantle? Emma O'Driscoll is not exactly a one-on-one defender. Laura Pugh is too small. So who takes the Jesse Wardlow matchup up forward? So
Mm.
I'm with you on this one. I think the Saints get it done. Sometimes when you win one after the siren, you have a little bit of a letdown in the next game, and I think the Saints capitalize on that. So I will tip the Saints on this one there. We jump to it. Friday night footy, no, Saturday afternoon footy for you, Friday early
Yeah.
morning, Friday or Saturday early morning for me sees the Western Bulldogs host the Sydney Swans at Witten Oval, the Kennel, as my Friday of fun for that one. That'll be a fun one because I got the grand final for the men that
Mhm.
evening as well. So Dougie's Swans, who do you like?
I mean, I think for again a toughie, but I'd hope that Sydney get it done and again carry that momentum for the men. The next day I am going for the Sydney in the men's grand final, so I'm kind of on that bandwagon a bit too. So yeah, hopefully they can start it off on a good foot for the weekend.
The young Western Bulldogs team, some experience on the Swans side in some of the places that the Doggies are super young. I think the Swans just a little bit too experienced. And
Mhm.
players like Cynthia Hamilton can have themselves a breakout with no real defender who I think can take her out of the game. So Swans for me on this one, not just because of the red hat part of me, but I just think the Swans' talent and some of the experienced players that they do have will show out in this game. Again, Jess Fitzgerald, how does she handle it? How does Lucy McAvoy get used? Because she's been employed both on the wing and off the halfback flankers. We'll have to see how that goes. It'll be a fun one. There may be some sore bodies from this weekend. I'm hoping that Sydney is not too banged up after a gritty matchup with the GWS Giants. But the Western Bulldogs did play 2 games last week, so it'll be fun to see that one. An interesting one down in Launceston, down in Tassie, as North Melbourne welcome the Richmond Tigers to Tasmania. I'm going to tip North in this one. As much as I love Richmond, there's just a little too much talent, and the height of North Melbourne may give a rather undersized Richmond side a little bit of trouble.
Yeah, I agree. I think yeah, see how the weather's like at Taz and down in Taz at this time of the year on a mid Sunday afternoon. But yeah, I think North will get it done. They'll stay classy and get the points and get the job done.
Yeah, that'll be an interesting one for sure. We jumped up to Henson Park in Sydney as GWS welcome the West Coast Eagles all the way over from the West. A fun one here. The Eagles playing good footy, GWS kind of up and down. I'm gonna tip. Who did I tip? I have the West Coast Eagles coming across town and getting the win. I like what Daisy is doing. They're a gritty side that like to fight after. I know GWS has got some banged up bodies. How does Zarly Goldsworthy rock up after a tough physical game against the Swans? I like the Eagles in this
I think I agree. Although yeah, it's almost too good to be true for Daisy's Eagles to, have such a good year. It's but credit to her if they do. So, but yeah, I'd go for the Eagles as well. See how they travel though. But yeah, I think they've only got the one game this round, so they'll get a good rest and yeah, I think they'll be good to go. Tip top.
It'll definitely be interesting. I'm going to skip the next game time wise because I want to save it for last. So we're going to jump down to the last game of the round, and that is Alberton Oval as Port Adelaide get their second game against also
Mhm.
second game week Carlton Blues. Alberton Oval has been fun. I love that the fan base has really shown out for the girls on this one. I like Port in this one. Carlton a little too inconsistent. I know Port is young. I know this, but this is where their youth will be beneficial in a second game during the round. A few older bodies over in a few more mature bodies on, again, don't say older coach, don't do that. A
Mhm.
few more mature bodies on the Carlton list. I think Port's youth will be beneficial in this game. Port Adelaide get this one done at home.
Yeah, I agree, and I think it would be great. Well, I don't know. We'll see if Port can get 2 wins this week, but I think for Carlton it's going to be uh, a sad round for them. I think they're going to be 0-2, and yeah, I think Port at home are something special, so I think they'll get the win.
All right, we'll get to it. The matchup of the round, the game everybody's going to be talking about this round, 1v2 on the ladder. Brisbane and Brighton Homes Arena up in Queensland host the mighty Adelaide Crows. Tell me here, Annie, can the Crows get it done?
Oh, I don't know. Look, it's one of those ones where if you tip the Lions and Crows win, you're happy either way, because you're a winner in some in some right.
Mhm.
Um, I'm just looking at here, Brisbane, they've won the last four kind of matchups against the Crows. So, I mean, look, I'll go Brisbane just to spice it up a bit, um, and get like you said, Crows, get them that loss that hopefully will then shift the momentum into the back half of the year.
I will tell you this, Annie. You're employing a strategy that I've done for the men for the Swans for a while, and this is how I explain it. I tip the way I think it should go, but I tip in a way that it's actually beneficial for me both ways. Because for you,
Yeah,
if you tip Brisbane and you get the tip right, you get the tip right. But if you
yeah,
tip Brisbane and Adelaide win, your team still wins. So it's a no
yeah.
lose situation.
Yes,
That's
correct.
I've talked
Yes.
myself into that so many times for Sydney
No,
Swans
that's the
tips.
way, that's how I've been rolling this year
Yep.
with my tips. So
Yep. So
it's
that's
and it's worked. So
I will take a missed tip if it's my team getting the win. That's the way I've always kind of explained it to myself, and it works. Again, as I said earlier, this unfortunately is Adelaide's kryptonite team because of their run, because of the quickness of the little midfield of the Brisbane Lions, and I think sometimes it really gets Adelaide. The fact that it's up in Brisbane doesn't help either because it's probably going to be a little bit warmer because of the tropical climate. I'm going to tip Brisbane in this one. I'm not counting the Crows out. I'm not saying the Crows have no shot. The Crows, again, they're a tough, gritty side. They're going to challenge Brisbane. I just think where Brisbane capitalized them on is the run and the all-day running that Starcevic has instilled into this club. I like Brisbane in this one. Again, mighty matchup. Cannot wait for this one. This is a 12:05 a.m. start for me. I may stay up and try to watch this one because I think this would be too good to miss. It's going to be interesting. So that is it. That is all of the games tipped for this particular round, which, if I do my math correctly, is another 11 games this particular round for the women. So, as for usual, Annie, thank you again so much for hopping on the podcast. Just quickly for those on in front of the camera, how is your off season going? And because if I remember correctly in our pre-pod chat, you're already back to training.
yes, unofficially. Um,
Don't
yes.
nobody hear this from the AFLW. Don't nobody hear
No,
it.
actually, I think today's actually the day we can officially start training. But I guess from our pre-season perspective, unofficially starting until next month. So just a time for the girls to connect and get a few touch and just slow things down and have a bit of one-on-one time as well with the coach. So yeah, it's nice just to get some routine and structure back into my week and yeah, just a slow build up to when it all kicks off. Yeah, next month. So be good.
It's crazy to think 'cause footy has almost become 24 and footy has almost become 365 at the pace it's going. It's absolutely
Yeah.
mental. I joked a few times with the men. I said at the pace they're going, the AFL season is basically going to be all year round. It's just there's only going to be like 6 weeks where they don't do anything because they just keep
Yeah.
trying to find a way to do it. It's just very frustrating. It's just very frustrating for me personally because of my love for the women's game that I think there should be a way to be able to split the two seasons equally and
Mm.
not have to pit them against each other. But broadcasters want games on it, and if they have to play as many games as possible, unfortunately, that's what they will do. So, don't want to end on a negative vibe. So, Annie, again, as per usual, this is fantastic. I love talking footy with you. Best of luck in your training. I cannot wait to watch it. March cannot come fast enough. Not only is it my birthday month, but that is when I get to see the AFLW and footy restart again in the state leagues for the women's competitions is always great. So, take care. I know that slowly the weather's going to get warmer for you, where it's doing the exact opposite for me. It's starting to get cooler up here as autumn descends upon Iowa. And I'm not looking forward to the cold nights, but you know what? It's the life that I live.
Yeah, well, yeah, thanks for having me, Coach. And yeah, I'm looking forward to the warmer weather too. We've had quite the long winter here in South Australia. So yeah, the mood always lifts and footy's always a lot more funner when the sun's out. So yeah, hope you're staying warm.
Well, and the good thing is we've had a little bit warmer start to our fall. We were up there in the upper 20s, almost 30s the last couple of days. So it's been kind of warm for the fall part of the year, especially up here. But we had a nice dip down in the temperatures the last couple of days in the last couple of days. So it's been nice. So you didn't get on this podcast for a for the weather broadcast up here or in South Australia. That is going to do it for another episode of Donnie's Disposals. Again, grand finals galore over the next couple of weeks. This is going to be a podcast week for one that you will never guess. AFLW, AFL, and Sandful. The season wrap up will be hopefully this week if everything works out well. And then VFL and Waffle still to review their grand finals as all three state leagues had their grand finals this weekend. Premiers were handed out. We will discuss those as we go on through the podcasts later on in the next couple of weeks. So that'll do it for Donnie's Disposals, and we'll be back with more footy coverage very, very soon.